The auction of the broken twin sons of Tarnak 7 hung heavy in the red sky. Beneath their hot light, the slave market was alive with noise. Merchants shouted, buyers laughed, guards barked orders, while cruel masters dragged their terrified prizes into view. In the center of the marketplace stood a raised metal platform, the auction stage, and standing on that platform, chained and silent, was Alira, the silent slave her. Soft lavender skin glowed faintly under the suns. Long silver hair flowed down her back. Dirty, but still beautiful. Her glowing blue eyes stared at nothing. Her body stood still. But inside, her mind was far away. She had long ago stopped hoping for freedom. Years ago, she had been captured when her planet was destroyed. Since then, she had been sold and resold like a rare object, beaten, ordered, humiliated. The chains around her wrists had become part of her life. Today was just another day of being sold again. But Alira no longer cried. She no longer begged. She had no more tears left. The bidding against the auctioneer, a tall reptilian alien with sharp yellow teeth, called out loudly, "Next, a rare one, Lyrathan female, strong, healthy, beautiful. Here's a service left." The crowd gathered close, eyes hungry. Most buyers came here not for work slaves, but for entertainment slaves, for cruel pleasure. A large insectoid buyer stepped forward. 2,000 credits. A tall, horned alien growled. 3,000. The auctioneer grinned. "Do I? Hear more. This one is rare. Gentlemen, one of the last of her kind." The bids continued to rise. The buyers looked at Alira not as a person, but as an object, something to own, to use. Alira stared forward, not reacting. Her heart was numb. The human arrived then. Through the noisy crowd, a human man stepped forward. He was tall, dressed in a long dark coat. His face was calm, serious, and his sharp brown eyes studied the scene with quiet anger. His name was John Carter. He had traveled far to reach this dark market, and when his eyes landed on Alira, something inside him tightened. He saw the bruises on her arms. He saw the empty sadness in her eyes, and unlike the others, he saw her, not just her body, but her broken spirit. He raised his hand calmly. 10,000 credits. The crowd laughed. Crowd fell silent for a moment. Then laughter erupted. A tiny old merchant shouted, "A human? What does he want with her? A plaything?" Another snorted, "He's overpaying for a used slave." Even the auctioneer chuckled. 10,000? Going once, going twice. No one dared to bid higher. The price was too rich, even for the cruelest buyers. "Sold," the auctioneer shouted. To the human, the transfer to rough guards unlocked Alira's chains. They shoved her forward roughly toward John. But before she fell, John caught her gently with his strong arms. He looked directly into her blue eyes. "It's okay now," he whispered softly. Alira blinked in surprise. No one had spoken to her with kindness for years. She expected pain. Instead, his hands were gentle. The whisper that changed everything. The crowd still laughed as John paid the credits and signed the transfer papers. A sneering merchant shouted, "Enjoy your new toy, human." John ignored him. As he led Alira away toward his ship, she walked stiffly beside him. Too shocked to speak, when they reached the quiet path leading to the docking bay, John finally stopped. He turned to her and spoke softly. "Listen to me carefully. You are free now." Alira stared at him, confused. I don't understand." John smiled gently. "I bought you so no one else could. No one will ever touch you again. You are safe. You belong to no one." Her lips trembled. She had dreamed of hearing such words, but never believed they could be real. "Why would you do this?" she whispered. John's voice was steady. "Because no one should live like this, and because you deserve better." The first tear for the first time in many years. A single tear rolled down Alira's cheek. She quickly wiped it, afraid to show weakness. John noticed but said nothing. Instead, he gently offered his hand. "Come, let's go home." For a moment, Alira hesitated. Then slowly, she reached out and placed her small hand in his. It was the first step toward a new life. But neither of them knew how deeply their fates were now tied together. Asterisk the first kindness. Docking Bay was quiet as John led Alira onto his ship, the Star Wind. The large metallic doors closed behind them, cutting off the noise of the slave market. Inside, soft lights glowed along clean walls. The air smelled fresh, not dirty like the market. Alira walked carefully, still expecting pain, still waiting for the cruel hand to strike. but nothing came. John's voice was calm. This is my ship. You are safe here. The first room led her into a small, warm room with a soft bed, clean clothes, and a tray of fresh food. Alira froze when she saw the bed. She stared at it, afraid. John noticed her hesitation. This room is yours, he said softly. You can rest here, eat when you're ready. No one will hurt you. Alira turned her eyes toward him, confused. This is a trick, she whispered. John shook his head gently. No tricks. The fear inside Delara stood silently in the middle of the room. Her whole life had taught her one thing. Nothing was ever free. Every kind word always led to pain. Every promise always broke. Her voice trembled. You bought me. I belong to you. John's eyes softened. You don't belong to anyone, Alira. I bought you only to give you freedom. He took a slow breath. No chains. No orders. No pain. You decide what happens next. Alira's hand shook slightly. Her body didn't know how to accept kindness. I don't know what to do. The gentle distance of John stepped back, giving her space. You don't have to do anything. Rest. Eat. Sleep. This is your space now. He pointed at a small button near the door. If you need anything, press this. I'll come. He walked toward the door, but paused one last time. You're safe here. Truly. Then he left quietly, closing the door behind him. The first meal Alira stood alone for a long time, staring at the clean bed and fresh food. Her stomach growled. The warm smell of cooked vegetables and fresh fruit filled the air. She hadn't smelled real food in years. Slowly, carefully, she sat at the small table. At first, she took tiny bites, expecting someone to yell, expecting the food to be snatched away. But no one came. Bite after bite, her fear faded and her hunger took over. For the first time in years, she ate a full meal without fear. Tears filled her eyes. The first night later that night, Alira lay on the soft bed, the warm blanket covered her thin body. She stared at the ceiling, too confused to sleep. Safe, she whispered to herself. He said I am safe. Her heart wanted to believe it, but her mind still whispered old fears. Finally, exhausted, she drifted into the deepest sleep she had known in years. The next morning, John was in the control room, checking the ship's systems. The door behind him opened softly. He turned and saw Alira standing there, dressed in clean clothes, her hair gently brushed, her blue eyes still shy, but brighter. She spoke softly. I don't understand why you are kind. John smiled gently. Because you deserve kindness. Alira lowered her head. No one has ever said that to me. He stepped closer, but carefully, making sure she never felt trapped. You're not a slave anymore, Alira. You are free to decide your own life. She lifted her eyes slowly to meet his. And if I stay here, John smiled. You may stay as long as you wish. This is your home now if you want it. The small smile for the first time. A very small smile appeared on Alira's face. It was weak, fragile, but it was real. She nodded softly. Thank you, John. He answered simply, you're welcome. In that moment, the first seed of trust was planted. The long road to healing had begun, but neither of them knew how deeply their hearts would change in the days to come. The silent bond days passed quietly aboard the Starwind. The great ship moved slowly through deep space, far away from the cruel markets of Tarnix 7. Inside the ship, Alira was slowly learning how to live again. The first steps at first, she remained quiet, watching John from a distance. She cleaned small parts of the ship, helped prepare meals, and sometimes simply sat quietly, staring out into the stars. John never forced her to do anything. He simply let her be. Every day, he spoke softly to her, telling stories about Earth, about freedom, about laughter and family, things Alira had long forgotten. And slowly, very slowly, her fear began to melt. The first Lauderon afternoon, as John tried to fix a small food dispenser, it suddenly sprayed him with sticky fruit paste. He stood there, covered in purple goop, looking completely surprised. Alira couldn't help it. A small giggle escaped her lips. John smiled at her. Was that a laugh? Alira covered her mouth shyly. I'm sorry. John shook his head, laughing too. Don't be sorry. I've been waiting to hear that sound. Her soft giggle returned, a little stronger this time. It was the first time in years she had laughed. The night that evening, after dinner, they sat quietly together in the control room. The stars outside sparkled like tiny diamonds. Alira spoke softly. When I was taken, I thought my life was over. The chains, the pain, they made me forget who I was. John listened carefully, and now, she looked at him, her glowing blue eyes soft. Now, I am beginning to feel alive again. You make me feel safe. John smiled gently. That's all I ever wanted, Alira. The gentle touch as they sat, Alira's hand trembled slightly, slowly. She reached out, touching John's hand for the first time. Her voice was barely a whisper. Thank you for seeing me as more than a slave. John held her hand softly. You were never a slave to me. You're Alira, a strong, beautiful soul, who survived more than anyone should. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time, they were not tears of fear. They were tears of hope. The quiet nights next few nights, Alira began sleeping without fear. The nightmares that had haunted her started to fade. Sometimes, she would wake in the middle of the night, her heart racing. But when she listened to the quiet hum of the ship and remembered John's words, her fear calmed. One night, she softly whispered to herself before falling back asleep, I am safe. The unspoken feelings day by day, the silent bond between them grew stronger. They shared meals, worked together, and slowly began to laugh more. John never pushed her. He never crossed a line. But his heart was changing to. He admired Alira's courage. Her soft smile made his heart beat faster. The way she looked at him with quiet trust touched something deep inside him. And though he never said the words aloud yet, he knew he was falling in love with her. The first dancing evening, as soft music played from the old Earth files, John offered his hand. Would you like to try something new? Alira looked at him nervously. What is it? A dance? She hesitated, unsure. But something inside her trusted him fully now. She placed her hand in his, and together they moved slowly to the soft melody. It was simple, awkward at first, but soon they found a gentle rhythm. For a moment, the years of pain disappeared. Only warmth remained. The bond grows stronger after the dance. Alira whispered softly, I never thought I would feel happiness again. John looked into her eyes. You deserve happiness, Alira. You deserve everything. Good. Her voice trembled. And you deserve someone kind, like you. Their hearts spoke more loudly than their words. But neither of them said what was growing stronger inside. Love. Asterisk the hunters returned. Peaceful days aboard the Star Wind could not last forever. Far across space, the cruel slavers of Tarnik 7 had not forgotten Alira. She was rare. She was valuable. She had slipped from their hands, and they wanted her back. A small, fast hunter ship was already tracking the Star Wind. The hunters had found their trail. The shadow of Procession sat at the control panel, checking the navigation. Path. Suddenly, a red warning flashed across the screen. Incoming ship detected. Alira entered the room, sensing something was wrong. What is it? She asked softly. John's face turned serious. Someone is following us. A fast hunter-class ship. Alira's eyes widened with fear. The slavers? John nodded. Most likely, the warmth they had built in recent days was quickly replaced by tension. The attack against Hunter's ship drew closer. Sending out a loud transmission, a crow voice filled the room. Surrender the property, human. Return the slave, and you may live. John's jaw tightened. He answered calmly, she is no one's property. You will never have her again. The enemy ship fired first. Blue energy blasts lit up the darkness as the Star Wind shook from the impact. The fight for freedom. John quickly activated the defensive shields. Alira, strap in. He shouted. The ship twisted and turned as John dodged incoming fire. Alira sat behind him, her heart racing. For a moment, old fear returned, but she forced herself to stay strong. She was no longer the broken slave. She was free, and she would not lose that freedom again. The weapon room. John quickly moved toward the weapon control room. As he prepared to return fire, Alira followed him. He stopped her. Stay back. It's dangerous. But Alira shook her head firmly. I will not hide while you fight for me. Let me help. John stared at her for a moment, seeing her strength. He nodded. All right. Follow my instructions. Fighting together to work side by side, John aimed the plasma cannons while Alira monitored the power systems. As another blast shook the ship. She shouted, left side, weak shield point. John adjusted quickly, firing a precise shot that hit the hunter ship's engines. Sparks exploded in space. The final blow. The hunter ship wobbled. Its captain screamed over the transmission, you will both die for this. John didn't answer. With one final shot, The enemy ship exploded into bright flames, scattering metal pieces into the stars. Silence returned. The danger was over. For now, the aftermath inside the star wind. Both of them stood quietly, breathing hard. John turned to Alira. You were brave. She smiled softly, though her hands still shook. You gave me strength. John looked deeply into her glowing blue eyes. You are stronger than you know. Alira whispered, I never want to live in chains. Again, John gently held her hands. You never will. Not while I live. The silent understanding that night, as the stars glowed peacefully once again. Alira sat beside John on the observation deck. No words were needed. Their bond had grown stronger through the battle, not just as rescuer and rescued, not just as protector and protected, but as the hearts moving closer, slowly, quietly, powerfully. The road ahead was still uncertain, but one truth was clear: they belonged to each other. The confession star wind floated peacefully in deep space now. The danger had passed, but inside both their hearts, something much stronger was growing. For Alira, freedom was still a new feeling, but something else was blooming inside her, something she never thought she would feel again. For John, the bond had grown deeper than simple protection. His feelings for Alira had quietly turned into something powerful: love. Neither of them had spoken these feelings yet, but tonight, that would change. The quiet evening, John and Alira sat together in the control room, watching the stars. Soft music from old Earth played quietly in the background. Alira spoke softly. I never imagined a life like this, a life where someone would fight for me and not hurt me. John smiled gently. You deserve safety. You deserve happiness. Alira looked down at her hands, her voice trembling. But do I deserve you? John's heart ached at her words. He turned to her gently. Alira, you are not broken. You are not less because of what happened to you. You are strong. You survived what many couldn't. Tears filled her glowing blue eyes. Even now, I still fear you'll see me as damaged, as a slave who can never be truly free inside. John reached out, softly touching her hand. Alira, I don't see a slave. I see a brave, kind, beautiful woman. The walls break. Alira's tears began to fall freely now. For so long, she had held her heart behind strong walls, walls built from pain, from fear, but John's words gently broke them down. She whispered, I am scared to feel this, John. Scared that you could never feel the same for me. John smiled softly. But I do, Alira. I've fallen in love with you. Her breath caught. She looked up into his honest, steady eyes. You love me. He nodded. Double quotes, yes, more than I can explain. Not because of pity, but because of who you are. Her heart opened. Alira's heart burst with emotion. For so long, she had believed no one could ever love her, not after what she had suffered. But now, hearing these words, something deep inside her shifted. She whispered through her tears, I love you too, John. I have for some time, but I was too afraid to say it. John gently pulled her into his arms for the first time. Alira allowed herself to fully feel his embrace, not as a protector, but as someone who truly loved her. Her tears soaked his shirt, but she didn't pull away. You make me feel alive again, she whispered. John held her tightly. And you make me feel whole. The first kiss. Slowly, Alira pulled back just enough to look into his eyes. Their faces were close. Her voice was soft. May I kiss you? John smiled. Yes. Their lips met in a tender, gentle kiss. Soft and warm. It was not rushed. It was not filled with pain. It was filled with hope. With healing, with love. The healing begins from that moment. Something changed inside Alira. For the first time, she no longer saw herself as a victim. She was free, truly free, not only from chains, but from fear. And in John's eyes, she saw a future she had never dared to dream of, a future of love, a future. Together at Asters, the Propazalti star wind flew peacefully toward a new world. The planet ahead was green and beautiful, a safe place, a new home. Inside the ship, Alira and John stood together, looking out at the view. They had shared many quiet, happy days since the night of their first kiss. The fear that once controlled Alira was now fading. The pain was being replaced with love and hope. But something even more beautiful was about to happen. The new beginning. John spoke softly as they watched the planet grow larger. This world is free. No slavers. No chains. No danger. Alira smiled gently. It's beautiful. Like a dream. John nodded. And I want us to build our life there. Alira's heart warmed at his words. For her, the word life no longer meant survival. It meant hope. It meant love. The secret preparation for days. John had been secretly preparing something special. He had visited the ship's small workshop and crafted a simple but beautiful gift, a necklace made from soft silver, holding a glowing crystal in the center. The crystal softly shimmered blue, matching Alira's glowing eyes. It was a human tradition, a symbol of love and commitment. The special evening. That evening, under the stars, John guided Alira to the small garden room inside the ship. Soft earth music played. The lights were dim and warm. Elira looked around, surprised. What is this? John smiled. Something I've been waiting to do for some time. He took her hands gently. Alira, when I first saw you, I only wanted to save you from pain. But as the days passed, I saw your strength, your beauty, and your heart. Tears already formed in Alira's eyes. He continued, you've given me more than I ever dreamed of. You healed parts of me too, and now I want to spend the rest of my life with you. The proposal. John slowly dropped to one knee. Alira gasped softly, covering her mouth with her hands, her eyes wide. John lifted the small silver necklace and held it up. Alira, will you marry me? Will you be my wife? For a long moment, she could not speak. The word wife was something she had never dared to imagine for herself. She whispered through her tears, you would call me wife, after all I've been, after everything I've lost? John looked up at her with warm, steady eyes. You are not your past. You are my future. I love you. Alira. Her answer. Alira fell to her knees before him, her tears falling freely. Yes, yes, John, I would be honored to be your wife. John smiled, gently placing the necklace around her neck. The small glowing crystal rested softly against her skin. She held it gently with trembling fingers. I never thought someone would see me like this. I never thought someone would love me like this. John pulled her close into a warm embrace. You deserve it. Every bit of happiness. Every bit of love. A new bond. That night, as they sat under the stars, their hearts were fully open. The pain of the past was still there, but it no longer controlled them. Their future was ahead together. Alira whispered softly as she rested her head on John's shoulder. You saved me. John replied gently. No, Alira, you saved yourself. I only gave you a chance. They both smiled as the stars continued to shine. Their love was now unbreakable. Asterisk. A new life together. Star wind landed gently on the green world called Elios-3. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of wildflowers. The sky was wide and peaceful, with twin suns shining gently above. For John and Alira, this was not just a new planet. It was a new beginning. Their home on the weeks that followed. They built a small house together, sitting near a calm river surrounded by tall glowing trees. Every stone placed, every wall built, felt like planting the seed of hope. Alira often stood by the window, watching the birds fly freely in the sky. Her soft voice would whisper, no more cages, no more chains. John would wrap his arms gently around her, replying, only freedom, only love. Helping others. Sword soon spread that John and Alira had escaped the slavers. Other survivors of slavery began arriving on Elios-3, searching for peace. John and Alira welcomed them with open hearts. Alira became a gentle teacher, helping others who had known the pain of slavery to learn how to live freely again. Her voice, once silent and broken, was now strong and full of kindness. You are not your past, she often told them. You are more. You deserve happiness. Many looked up to her with hope in their eyes. The deepest love. Their love only grew stronger. Every evening, they sat by the river, hand in hand, watching the sun set. The glowing crystal around Alira's neck shined softly under the light, a reminder of John's promise and of their new life together. One evening, as the stars appeared above, Alira whispered, when I was a slave, I thought I was invisible, like my life had no meaning. John kissed her hand gently, but you were always precious, even when others couldn't see it. I saw you. Alira smiled through soft tears. And you called me wife. That word still makes my heart full. John pulled her close. You are my wife, my partner, my love, and you always will be. A new familiar time passed. Their home grew full of laughter and joy. They adopted children from freed slaves, orphans who had no families. Together, they built not just a home, but a family. The children loved Alira's soft singing voice and John's gentle stories of Earth. At night, as the little ones slept, Alira and John would sit outside, listening to the quiet sounds of peace. We are home, Alira would whisper. Yes, John would reply, finally home. The legacy of their story spread across many worlds. It was not a tale of power or riches. It was a tale of kindness, of healing, of seeing someone when others looked away, of love growing from broken pieces into something beautiful. The final words in quiet night, under a sky filled with stars, Alira rested her head against John's shoulder. She whispered softly, you saved me. John smiled, holding her close. No, Alira, you saved me too. The stars above sparkled, as if blessing their love. And together, they continued their beautiful journey, free, equal, and forever joined.